For centuries, we have operated on the assumption that greatness is an inherited trait. We tend to view the most successful figures in history as people who were simply born with the DNA required to win. Pablo Picasso was the archetype of the creative genius. He amassed a vast fortune and global fame, forged an independent career. The Getty family tells a similar story. Despite J. Paul Getty's massive industrial empire and belief that he was a reincarnated Roman emperor, his lineage was marked by addiction and kidnapping. His wealth did not protect his descendants. It seemed to complicate their ability to function. This happens because high-achieving parents often hide the latter. By framing their own success as a product of innate brilliance, rather than a series of small, difficult steps, they deprive their children of a roadmap they can actually follow. Treating success as a genetic gift creates a shadow. When the next generation believes they lack the natural talent of their parents, they often stop trying, effectively crushing their own potential before it can develop. This psychological trap is known as the entity theory of intelligence. It is the belief that your mental abilities are fixed at birth and cannot be significantly expanded through effort. Columbia University EEG scans show how these students handle incorrect answers. Upon failing, the frontal lobe shows a sharp threat response. Focused on defending the ego, the brain stops processing new information. By seeing failure as an identity flaw, they cannot learn from the mistake. Students with an incremental theory, or a growth mindset, behave differently. Their brains treat a wrong answer as useful data, staying active to encode the correction so they can improve on the next attempt. The belief that winners are born creates a physiological barrier. It prevents the brain from performing the memory encoding required to turn a failure into a future victory. If winning isn't something you're born with, we must look at how dominance is actually triggered. In 1995, Mike Tyson returned to boxing after 3 years in prison. His team didn't immediately put him against a top contender. Instead, he fought Peter McNeely and Buster Mathis Jr., opponents the industry calls tomato cans. Promoter Don King was using a biological strategy. He knew that winning an easy fight increases the probability of winning a difficult one later. He was manually building Tyson's momentum. We see this in the African cichlid fish. These fish exist in 2 states, a dull gray submissive form and a brightly colored aggressive dominant form. When a submissive fish wins a territorial dispute, a group of cells in its brain swells to 8 times its original size. Within hours, the fish physically changes color, its internal biology shifts, and its overall personality transforms from timid to predatory. Dominance is never just a permanent genetic state. It is a biological response to the act of winning. The victory itself triggers the testosterone surge that creates the alpha behavior. Research on California mice shows that the winner effect alters the neural anatomy of the brain. The impact of a victory lasts long after the initial hormone spike has faded. In the brain's motivation centers, winning causes the brain to sprout new androgen receptors. These are receiving stations for testosterone. They act as a biological amplifier, allowing the brain to extract a more confident response out of the exact same amount of testosterone. A single win can physically upgrade the brain's hardware. It shifts the internal chemistry, making it easier for the individual to handle the stress of the next conflict. Direct conflict isn't the only trigger for these changes. Specific environmental cues can activate the same biological sequence. During the 2004 Olympics, researchers found that in combat sports where athletes were assigned red or blue uniforms, those in red won significantly more often. Evolutionarily, the color red signals dominance and aggression. Simply wearing the color can shift the hormonal balance of both competitors, favoring the person in red before the first punch is thrown. This sensitivity to environment is why world leaders are so careful about where they meet. In 1989, George H.W. Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev met to negotiate the end of the Cold War. They chose to meet on 2 ships in the middle of a storm. They endured severe seasickness to ensure neither side had a home field advantage, which is essentially a surge in testosterone triggered by familiar surroundings. Your surroundings are an active participant in your chemistry. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment for cues that tell it whether to be the submissive gray fish or the dominant alpha. This connects the growth mindset to the biology of the brain. One creates the resilience to keep trying, while the other provides the hardware to succeed. This is the momentum loop. An incremental mindset survives initial failures to secure a small victory. That victory triggers a hormonal surge, which then builds new receptors in the brain. Those new receptors make you more likely to win the next time. This creates an accelerating momentum, where each success makes the next one biologically easier to achieve. The debate over nature versus nurture often misses the feedback loops of the brain. Success follows a biological momentum that, once started, changes the odds of every encounter that follows. We should stop focusing on innate genius. By prioritizing grit and engineering small, daily victories, we can manually activate the winner effect and change our own biological potential.